It's now time to take a look at news stories making headlines around the globe. We begin in Nigeria, where the Supreme Court has nullified the election of Governor-elect of Bayelsa State, David Lyon. Arise News correspondent Chima Nwakwo reports that the court ordered the Independent National Electoral Commission to withdraw the certificate of return issued to David Lyon, the All Progressives Congress candidate, as the winner of the November 16, 2019 governorship election in the state.
Coming only 2 days after the Supreme Court struck out a suit by one of David Lyon's rivals at the primaries and affirmed his election as governor-elect of Bayelsa State, it was a shocking ruling. While Tuesday's ruling was over the conduct of the APC primaries, this time the decision was based on the discrepancies in the candidature of Lyon's running mate, Senator Biobarakuma Degi Eremienyo. Reading the lead judgment, Justice Ejembi Ekwo disqualified Lyon's running mate as a candidate in the election for submitting forged documents to INEC. The subsequent disqualification infected the joint ticket with which he and the governorship candidate ran for and won the November elections.
The Supreme Court, in its wisdom, has disqualified the candidates of APC, the governorship and deputy governorship candidates, directed that the certificate of return issued to them should be withdrawn, and a new certificate of return issued to the candidates that have the majority of lawful votes cast and have the geographical spread in the governorship election. And I believe my clients merited that. The
5-man panel, led by Justice Mary Odili, ordered the Independent National Electoral Commission to withdraw the certificate of return issued to David Lyon.
The implication is that the governor will not be sworn in tomorrow, and justice has been done.
David Lyon's sacking comes 24 hours to his scheduled swearing in as governor of Bayelsa State. Chima Nwakwo, Arise News.
Well, quite an interesting development yesterday with the Supreme Court upholding the ruling by the Federal High Court, Abuja, on December 12, 2019. You recall that on December 12, 2019, just a few days to the gubernatorial election in Bayelsa, November 12. The gubernatorial election was November 16. The High Court in Abuja had disqualified the deputy governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress, and that raised a lot of anxiety. But the election still went ahead. But what the Supreme Court had said yesterday is that, the deputy governorship candidate of the APC was not qualified because he gave false information, contradictory information, and that he swore to an affidavit also, that did not give a full reflection of his qualifications. Now, the effect of that ruling, of course, as the Supreme Court pronounced, is that the candidate or the party with the next largest number of votes should be given the certificate of return. So the ruling was declaratory. What remains is for INEC to comply accordingly. But since that ruling was given, there's been a lot of controversy about the issue. Some people have raised the question whether or not a governorship candidate or a governor-elect should be affected by the omissions, the shortcomings of his deputy. But the truth of the matter is that under Section 186 of the Constitution, the qualification for deputy governor is properly defined. It says the deputy governor must have more or less the same kind of qualifications as the governor himself. Section 187 says that, look, a governorship candidate must have a running mate, a deputy governorship candidate. In other words, the contemplation of the Constitution is that this is a joint ticket, that the two of them are Siamese twins, inseparable. And so once they went into the election together and the deputy governor has a problem, the nullification of the participation of that deputy governor automatically affects the governor. The question has also been raised whether or not, Duyodiri can be sworn in. And the question in this regard was raised particularly by the chairman of the All Progressives Congress yesterday. That's Comrade Adams Oshiomhole. And he even said that today there will be no swearing in because Duyodiri is not qualified and that the APC is already talking to the lawyers. Well, he may have been referring to Section 179, subsection 2A and B, which talks about the conditions under which you can become governor. Section 179A, talks about the fact that, one, to be a governor, you must have the highest number of total votes cast. Two, you must have obtained a quarter of the votes in at least two-thirds of the total number of local governments. And this has been, a point of controversy since yesterday. But the truth of the matter is that if you look at the results, the APC had more than 25% in 7 out of the 8 local governments in Bayelsa. The candidate of the PDP, who is now, on his way to becoming governor, had more than 25% in 5 local governments and 19% in a 6 local government. So the contention now is, does he have the highest number of total votes cast? It seems to me that the effect of the ruling yesterday is that David Lyon and his deputy were not even in the contemplation of that ruling, part of the election.
Yes.
They've been disqualified. So their votes have become invalid, null and void. Yes. So if you talk in terms of the highest number of votes, you'll be talking about the total votes minus the over 350-something thousand votes,
exactly.
That the APC got. Yeah. So technically, Juri and the PDP will seem to have the largest number of votes. If you are calculating two-thirds, then of course automatically you arrive at the same result because the number of votes will have changed with the effect of the Supreme Court ruling. Even if you were to add the votes of the APC in the matter, then what is two-thirds of 8 local governments? It will be 5 or 5.33. Okay, if you use 5.33, then maybe we are back to, the Shagari case of 1989. The Shagari case, when was that? 1979. The Shagari case of 1979. So, but from the look of all of things, the candidate of the PDP has been declared by the Supreme Court as the legitimate winner and the person to occupy Creek Haven in Yenagua. Well, there's also a human angle to it. As of yesterday, David Lyon was having a dress rehearsal and a technical rehearsal, only for him to see the promised land, but now it looks like he cannot get to that promised land.
Mm-hmm. I heard they even had the APC flag already flying as well at Government's House. But we'll discuss this in more detail as well when our guests, Kola Ologmondian and Liboris Oshoma, come on the show to join us later. So Tundun, back over to you.
Still in Nigeria, the leader of the Boko Haram terrorist group, Abubakar Shekau, has given conditions for the release of the remaining Chibok schoolgirls in captivity. In a video the Boko Haram leader released on Thursday, a day after President Muhammadu Buhari visited Borno State, he said the schoolgirls would be freed if the federal government should release the sect members in detention, although it is not certain when or where when the group recorded the video. Shekau also asked Buhari not to return to Borno, saying the sect is fully on the ground in the northeast. He stated that the insurgents would attack the president if he returns to Borno. Boko Haram had launched an attack on Maiduguri a few hours after Buhari paid a condolence visit to the state over a Sunday night killing of 30 people in Auno, a community near Maiduguri. Wow, this is just awful, actually, that these videos are still coming out. And this demand for their own prisoners to be released, like a prisoner swap, we swap hostages for prisoners, is really distasteful. Already, that Operation Safe Corridor that the government has is causing so much, so many complaints. Imagine actually releasing Boko Haram. Oh, okay, we have to take a short break now. We'll be back with more news headlines. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the morning show. With us now for business headlines is Rotas Adiri.
Good morning, folks. Good morning. Happy Valentine's Day. I see we're all in the spirits. Yeah. So yeah, we'll touch on Valentine's Day in a second. I just wanted to look at a report that I saw about the top 10 most profitable routes for the aviation industry. It was very interesting looking at the numbers and looking at the particular aviation companies, airlines that have profited from particular routes. Aviation is a very, very expensive business. Just yesterday, we were talking about how Hamatan had stopped airlines from landing in Lagos and were diverting to Accra and some other destinations. Very expensive to buy planes, very expensive to maintain the planes, expensive to buy jet fuel, and so on and so forth. But it was interesting looking at the particular routes that were profitable. The most profitable route was by British Airways, the JFK to Heathrow Airport. Fiscal year 2017, yes, we have that chart up now, looking at for our viewers to check out. Fiscal year 2018-2019, British Airways earned over $1 billion in revenue from that particular route from JFK in New York going to Heathrow Airport in London. Now, one of the reasons why British Airways was so profitable is that 30% of their flights were made up of first class and business class. So they're making lots of revenue from that particular route. I think in second place was Qantas Airlines. Qantas Airlines, yes, we have the chart up here looking at the airlines, airport pairings, total revenue for fiscal year 2018-2019, and then revenue per hour. British Airways was making about $27,000 per hour for the hours that they flew. Qantas was going from Melbourne to Sydney. They made about $849 million in revenue for that particular year.
That's short stretch.
Exactly.
Wow.
So so it shows you the importance. Third place was Emirates. Emirates was in third place. They made about $829 million in revenue. The importance of a hub, having a popular hub that lots of flights go through, shows you how much you can make. This is one of the reasons why the federal government of Nigeria wanted to do Air Nigeria, wanted to resuscitate it, because they were hoping that we could have a hub, that is Lagos, where most of these international flights can go through. However, they are limited in supply. It's only a few of these hubs that are doing very well. And those airlines, that top 10, British Airways, I think, was the only European airline. Funny enough, they're number one, but the rest of it is dominated by North American airlines and Asian airlines, showing you where the most profitable hubs are, across the world. So
London Heathrow appears in that top 10 5 times.
Exactly. So again, that bolsters the point about how important having a popular hub is, where multiple airlines can fly through. So you can see what that London Heathrow, and if you think about it, with New York City being, quote-unquote, the financial capital of the world, and lots of businesses also in London, that particular route is very profitable for a number of airlines.
Profit is important. These airlines are primarily businesses.
Yes.
And the basic objective will be to make profit.
Yes.
I think that, another major concern will be increasing concerns about air safety.
Correct, yes.
In the last 2 years or so, we've had repeated cases of air crashes. Some of them so dramatic, raising concern about safety. And we have the scandalous case of the Boeing 737
Correct.
MAX 8,
yes.
Which kept dropping, out of the air. So while we talk about profit, I think that we should also talk at one level about safety and what can be done by both the airlines and also, the aircraft manufacturers to ensure that best engineering, best conditions, best service, is provided. The second concern, of course, with regard to safety is that we've seen how, political issues and climate issues, environmental crises, or disaster, in certain parts of the world could result in some of these hubs having to be shut down at one time or the other. But for us in Nigeria, when we talk about all of this, Nigeria is not even there.
Right.
Once upon a time, the goal was to make Nigeria the, aviation hub for the whole of West Africa.
Right.
But the lack of political will, the failure of the government authorities then directly in charge of the aviation industry to raise the level of our game, it robbed us of that opportunity. Right. So that Nigeria is now at a point where, aircraft manufacturers don't even want to enter into contracts with private airlines in Nigeria. And now, this week, we're at a ridiculous point whereby, aircraft cannot even cannot even land in Murtala Mohammed Airport.
Many challenges for us to face.
So if there are lessons that we can learn from the success of these, successful hubs that you have identified, maybe that will be useful.
Thank you, Rose.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Welcome back. We're now being joined by Aaron Akerejala for sports headlines. Morning, Aaron.
Good morning, Tundu. Happy Valentine.
Happy
Valentine to you.
Hello.
Doctor, good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing good.
Well, you are not celebrating Valentine's Day.
I'm celebrating Valentine.
For you, it's a daily thing.
Yes, it's a daily
But
thing.
I haven't
It's in
had
the heart.
your poem for Tundun this morning. I was expecting a special
Valentine for me to actually
I thought he was going to come with
beautiful words. Okay, since Rotis was speaking about the airlines, let's actually tell you that it's also affecting sports team here in Nigeria. Let's tell you that the Nigerian Wrestling Federation are having a setback, major setback. Earlier in the week, they were supposed to have returned from Algeria, where they attended the African Wrestling Championship, where they won 14 medals. But as we speak, they are still held up in Istanbul because of the weather, and we're hoping that today they have decided that they're tired of waiting to get flights connected to Lagos from Istanbul, that they would rather go to Abuja because the weather is not still favorable for them to fly. So the president has been speaking and saying that they are doing everything humanly possible to have this team back to Nigeria.
Oh.
Well, I mean, you know, it's ridiculous because the excuse that has been given is that their flight has been routed to Lagos.
Yes.
And at the Lagos airport here, we have issues with an instrument landing system.
Yes.
Now, the instrument landing system that they had at that airport was ILS, what they call ILS-2. And the Ministry of Aviation had tried to upgrade it to ILS-3. Now, this is supposed to be a new installation, but they've not been able to commission it or put it in place because we're told that certain components in the procured ILS-3 are not working. And the question I ask is, why will certain components not work in something that has been newly procured? In order to make it easy for aircraft to land, you know, even during bad weather at the Murtala Mohammed Airport. So that explanation from the Ministry of Aviation doesn't quite make sense to me. Second, when was this ILS-3 procured? And why has it taken so long, you know, to be able to put it in place? It's not only the wrestlers who are stranded in Istanbul that are affected. Flights have had to be diverted to Accra. Flights have been diverted to Abuja. British Airways passengers from London have been protesting that, you know, British Airways didn't treat them well. But can you blame British Airways? You know, because, I mean, British Airways will not expect that there will not be a proper instrument landing system at the Murtala Mohammed Airport. So the Ministry of Aviation says, well, the team in Istanbul, you know, they can come and go and land in Abuja. I thought they were going to add that when they arrive in Abuja, each one of them should take a night bus to their various destinations in Nigeria.
All right, moving away from that, let's actually tell you that the weekend returns, several teams will be returning from their winter holiday in the English Premier League. Manchester United had signed Ojo Judigallo, Nigeria International, and as we speak to you right now, there is still a fear that this man might not play the very, very coveted game, Manchester United versus Chelsea, that will be coming up on Monday Night Football, because of the coronavirus. Of course, he moved from Shanghai, Shenhua. He wasn't in the Wuhan region, but Manchester United are still very, very cautious, and they've quarantined him. The whole 14 days has been going on. We hear that it might end this weekend, but some are saying that they might even stretch it further than that. I don't think they're just saying it's precaution, but ultimately this might rob Manchester United and also the Nigerian International of opportunity to make a very strong start to the Premier League, to his return to the Premier League.
And it's better to take the necessary precautions. The quarantine period is supposed to be 14 days.
Yes.
Correct. Well, but in any case, what Manchester United is also saying is that he could not follow them to the warm weather tune-up in Marbella, Spain, because they are, you know, they just want to be careful because they don't know what other immigration restrictions can come up. And this is a gentleman that they have just loaned from Shanghai, Shenhua, you know, and then they don't want that. So he's alone with his personal trainer, also getting ready for the match against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge on Monday, when we hope that he will have the opportunity to prove the doubters wrong.
No, but he is actually facing an uphill battle, understanding that he has not had any competitive match since November, because the Chinese league had been on break since November. So coming into February, that's a lot of time. That's a world of time in football, having not played competitively. So can he actually get up to speed? He will need to dig deep. He will really need to dig deep.
Can you be more
But he's
positive?
ready. He's mentally ready.
Mentally, look, the point is, reality.
God, someone who wore black on Valentine's Day.
Anyway,
Thank you.
Aaron, thank you very much.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Thanks, Aaron.